громад з українського.
So this is a community spokespersons project at UCMC. This is UCMC and the DOBRE community spokespersons joint project. So every case has its beginning and its end. The reform will end in 2020 when local elections when local elections happen, and more than 4,000 councils formed, 884 communities that are consolidated, and 9 million people. But many communities are still outside the reform. And what can communities achieve, and what can they do till 2020? And this issue is discussed with head of the United Territorial Communities, and today our guest is Serhiy Poperechny. He is the head of the Terebovlya consolidated community. A lot of interesting things happened in your community since 2015, and I know that you are not a newcomer in this, and Terebovlyansky you had this community for a long time. So what were the obstacles, and what should have been changed in your community? When I was elected, we had a city that had many problems in communal sphere and in kindergartens and schools. And first, when I was head, I had only Terebovlya town, and we didn't have income tax and land tax. We didn't have this, and excise for fuel was absent. And now we accumulated all the taxes, and now we have a powerful budget, and a lot can be done due to this budget in the settlements of our community. We cannot do everything at once. We have 25 settlements and Terebovlya, and this is more than 30,000 people. Only 2 villages are profitable. All other villages do not have profit, and funds are lacking for social sphere and cultural sphere. And today, funds from the city go to the villages. So 26 villages, 14 councils, more than 30,000 population. So this is a powerful community. It's not easy to unite, and you didn't know that this reform would work, as initiators said. And many people, they wanted to preserve their positions, and we traveled to Europe, and we traveled to Poland, and we signed an agreement with the Lubavitch city, and I saw the development of self-governance there. Yes, we had some fears, but we believed that we can achieve results, and many settlements joined because we wanted to create powerful community, and we should have had some settlement where settlements can unite, and I believe that until 2020 the region will be the communities will be formed in our region. What was the most difficult thing in unification? The trust of people. People, they saw that nothing has been done during 25 years. Yes, something was done, but there were no proper results. For example, roofs are leaking in schools and kindergartens. The situation and the same, and you do not know where to start, and people just had mistrust. And big community also face big problems, and some small villages, for example, 400 residents, and now it's not easy to deal with those issues, but the headman, they got the salary, and we provide funds for culture and to increase salary if it is possible. And it is pleasant that for example, if a culture worker and a library worker, now they can have a salary of 6,000 hryvnias, and people see changes. And if they see change, people will believe that centralization is needed, but time is needed for this. So I studied the budget of the Terebovlya community, and now I know the budget increased 17% compared with 2017. So this is 190 million hryvnias, and you have your own proceeds, and you have 12 million from the Fund of Regional Development, 7 million for budget of for infrastructure. So if we're speaking about financial decentralization, but also often we may hear that financial decentralization didn't happen. This is illusion, but can you confirm or reject this idea that this financial decentralization, whether it really happened? Decentralization happened, and the heads of the community know about it. So we have proceeds to the budget that we never had before. The state helps those communities that are being created, and we should understand that the state may help for 1 year, but we search for international donors. If the state helps, this is good, but we should provide optimization and to think how to earn money. And the head should think about how to earn money. It's not easy, but we should think about it. Taxes should be paid to the community, and working places should be created within community, and the products should be bought within community. Maybe it can 10 or 5 hryvnias less per kilo, more costly per kilo, but this entrepreneur will pay taxes, and he will live in your community, and people won't flee, and they will act, and the community will live, because community cannot live without people. So this is one of the main arguments of decentralization, when community starts to earn money to create working places, because they understand that these taxes will go for development of the community. When we announced our program, we've said that we will find out, well, what community achieved, the community that put culture at the first place and provided for the culture. And I know that the Terebovlya community put cultural sphere on the first place. Why did you choose this way, and what were the results? So, if we started with culture, so there won't be any war in the East. So culture was always at the last place when I was the deputy head of the council. So there was no proper financing of the cultural sphere. And young people inspired us. We saw that there's no places for young people in the settlements, and we saw a European experience and how they did it, and we always see and choose the best, but we do as we do it in our way. So each community is different. No one can just copy the experience. They should do it the way it is right for the community. And we consulted the youth council, and we decided to create centers of culture. We have 5 centers of culture now, and we have houses of culture that were built in Soviet times for example, 800 places, and we created 25 square meter premises, and we invested more than 1 million hryvnias, and this is the center of culture and relaxation. 11 people are employed, choreography classes and computer specialists and present, and all the necessary equipment for holding events. And also we provided it for 5 or 6 villages, and they can use the center. And for example, they have 11 or 13 people who work in the center. They can hold some events, concerts for the community, and they have library. It is warm there, and mother can leave a child for several hours, and the House of Culture and specialist will work with this child. And also choreography classes are there. So about 200 children attend these classes and visit this House of Culture. And what about the libraries? So we have these libraries. We copied the experience of Lutsk. So librarians, they got salary based on numbers of books that were provided. So some librarians worked for several hours a day, and then they left. And we asked, for example, one elderly woman what was done by the librarian, what books were provided, and it was a difficult question. So we tried to provide a full day of work for the librarian. 6,000 grivnas is the salary, and then after the work in the library, this person is also work with the children. We bought new books, and people want to read new books, and we got rid of old literature and we bought new literature, and we bought books, and the librarian takes part in all important events of the House of Culture. I know that the Terebovlya community also deals with the tourism. There are many cultural and architectural monuments, and I know that you work on the development of this potential. It is interesting in what way you do it. If you asked me this question 3 years ago, I would say that there is that the sphere tourism cannot develop. For example, Polish people came and bought some products. The single tax is paid, and that was all. But when young people came to us and they studied tourism and worked for 2 years in Poland and Gdansk, and I saw that they are creative, and they decided to make Terebovlya known for tourism, and we made the communal enterprise. And we have 5 people. There is director of this institution, and in a year, these young people, I will tell you one figures. They earned 117,000 grivnas, and they did it from the start. And there are some master classes, some events, also night excursion, and thanks to DOBRE program, there are 2 bicycles, and we also provide our own products. We are moving ahead, and I hope that in a year or 2 there will be powerful tourism communal enterprise that will earn. Now we help them, and we have tax benefits for them, and we provide money for them because it is difficult to start from scratch. and they support this idea and continue their work. So 117,000 maybe is not enough, so maybe you want to earn more. But from the start, it is big money, so they made this money in 1 year. So 1,070 tourists came. They usually went through this city, yes, because they need hotels and proper catering. Now tourists come to us, and we can go to Kamenets-Podilsk and to the south and Zervanica. So we now deal with these tours, and we work a lot with operators of tourism. They come to us and they see that we have powerful development, and we signed many agreements, and we work with different regions, and they will come to us, and then they will move to other directions. And about the funds, so finances are always lacking. But I believe that 1.5 years is needed in order for this enterprise to develop, and then it will have powerful development. I see adrenaline, emotions of the workers who want to show our city as it is, in order that people come to Terebovlya and that they want to remain there. But maybe you plan to develop hotel network. In Terebovlya, we had 3 hotels previously. Some of them were provided for free or sold. Yes, we have a hotel, but I hope that we will have hotel in Terebovlya. Outside Terebovlya, this is private entrepreneur. Now we develop technical documentation for building hotel for 70 rooms. So this is one of the projects. And we lack a youth center, and we want this center be combined with the hotel, and we want to attract sportsmen because there are many competitions, and also rooms for other tourists, and we will have also private hotel. So in a year or 3 years we will do this. And is it about domestic or foreign tourists? Terebovlya is a place where there are many people from Hungary and Poland, and 30% we believe will be from abroad, 70% from Ukraine, because in Ukraine we have many tourist places for tourism, and we invite tourists from our country and from abroad, because their ancestors are buried here, and the people from Czech Republic, from Poland, and there were 3 tourists from Germany this year and 2 from England. But Polish tourists come here, and it is pleasant. We provide services in 5 languages. So even Oblast doesn't provide this, but we provide our services in 5 languages, so we can invite tourists from all the world. So you want grant 250,000 for museum. Look, this is the idea of the Youth Council. So we have local history museum, and we want to transform it into museum with master classes, and some money was allocated from the local budget, and there is a workshop now, and 2,250,000 hryvnia project will be implemented, and we will also have a tree from concrete, and there will be some artistic works on this tree. And the DOBRE program provides some funds for this, and we will implement this project. I heard about deep deportation museum about deportation of Ukrainians to Siberia. No, this is not our project. So we will invite them in the next program. So you finished the discussions with the neighboring communities to have cooperation with local communities. Maybe this is one of the instruments for cooperation for the councils to develop the territories. And what are the areas of cooperation, and what is the stage of this project? So in the region, we have 4 communities. From the start, our community was the territorial center, and social workers provide services in all communities and also to these villages that remained. With Mykolaievska, Zolotnikivska, and Ivanivska community, this is from our region, and with the Khoroshkivska from another region, we signed and registered in the ministry agreements to cooperate and to provide social services. With the Zolotnikivska community, we signed municipal cooperation agreement for the services concerning the art school, and there was reform and this now is a powerful center. What is the School of Art? You remember the stations of technicians and the houses of pioneers. It was during Soviet times. And now in the musical school, there is an art school, and we provide other services for children. These services differ from those that were provided before. So first, there were applications about the attendance of these classes. So first, we should know what we surveyed people and classes from 1st to 4th, and our young people from the youth council, and the teachers provided permits for this. So children took these forms and brought them to their parents, and they wrote what services, what circles they wanted to have. And youth council, they provided forms to the senior classes, and they also provided information what services they want to receive. So we now have more than 1,000 children there, and people pay for these services. So the culture earned 1,400,000 hryvnias during 1 year, and we are really proud that people, and we see great prospects in this.
By the way, you often mention this young town's council. I heard that this is your brand of Terebovlya community. How do you work on this brand? 6 years ago, thanks to my deputy, Oculist Ludmila, she has created this young municipal council. They are creative youth, they are open and talking, they can enter my room, they are free people, their thoughts, their thinking is that of free people. And they are very sensitive but very creative. Now the New Year's celebrations to come soon, and the members of Youth Council will take place. They arrange events. They meet every Friday, and 1 month ago, they approved their regulations, their articles, starting with 10 years old, young people can volunteer with them, and starting with 13, they could be members, and if they miss several meetings, if a member misses several meetings, he is expelled. So this is very good practice. If we have the same in the parliament, then we will have very few members of parliament. I'd like to talk about your cooperation with Poland. In what spheres do you cooperate? We signed the partnership agreement with Shnevske Voivodstvo. If you remember the movie Fairies. And in Borychev and Lyubimivka, they were the venues where this movie was shot. We exchange by our young council members, they visit Poland, and we opened an international route. Polish children can come to our place to see their ancestors' place, and that is very good cooperation. We see how they develop utilities, we learn on their lessons, how they spend budgets. After signing, we won the grant in Lublin and the foundation of municipal initiatives when we had the strategy of our development written by thanks to this grant, and when DOBRE program came to us, we had already the strategy of our development, and the whole part of Lublin town, they wanted to enter into cooperation agreement with us because we can have transboundary projects between Poland, Belarus and Ukraine jointly. 50-50 or 60-40, and the EU money can be used for this multilateral projects. Also, we signed cooperation agreements with Baltic states. We have good cooperation thanks to the foundation, thanks to UNESCO money. We were granted a firefighting lorry, and we have our own firefighting center. I think that this cooperation is very powerful. We visited with our headmasters from schools. They were on a study tour to the Baltic states, and they learned lessons from Poland. Every community should have some own specifics. You have very many good initiatives and people, new generation who will be growing in your community. They should multiply and replicate your project. You said you have a village of 14 persons. I think this village cannot have a school, but people do not like closing the schools. What do you have? What is the situation in your education sphere? We see that, in fact, last year, this year, out of 6 million, we were lacking almost 6 million hryvnias is a budget for teachers' salary with 4 million lacking. We have 2 new buses. In 2019 we will buy 1 or 2 more to transport children to better schools. We should make schools not for teachers but for children. And I think parents will understand us in several years when a child will have knowledge. There are many problems with these schools. Nobody has ever made this reform, so we did everything to survive so that our education sector survive in our town. We have 3 experts, 3 chief specialists, one is for vocational schools, the second is for comprehensive school, and the third is for beginners. Funding has already been shifted to the control of headmasters of schools. So we want the principals not to deliver lectures, not to deliver lessons, but only to control funding and manage organizational processes, because I think the headmaster should be a business person and administrative staff. I think that teachers will also benefit of this, and headmasters will see the salaries fund, this payroll, and having budget under his control, this headmaster will know how to pay salaries. So today we say you have a payroll budget and you can do with it whatever you want, but then do not ask us where to get salaries from. But schools should be equipped well, and it should be heated well. It is quite good that the reform is on the way, but we are lacking money out of 9,000 we got, and we spend a lot of money from our municipal budget, starting with furniture, notebooks. We paid for this. If we invest at the same rates into this reform, I think that the children will develop quite other attitudes, and the parents will understand that we do this for their children. When we purchased good soft furniture for schools, children like to sit on them when they just enter school doors. And to end with, I'd like to say that the forum took place at the beginning of this month, where Vladimir Grossman introduced the new plan, the decentralization plans of the forming district level of decentralization reform, and whether the state helps in implementation of decentralization, and whether communities are ready to implement the reform further. As to the communities, at this forum of communities, the communities voted for this. District councils, district administrations prevent us from forming communities. District council does not want to give us any premises out of their stock. We wanted to make hotels in their premises, but they say this is ours. Today, when we have only 7 village councils and district council continue to be in operation, it is no way, it is not a good practice. So, as the roadmap says, by 2020, all amalgamated communities should be formed. We will not have 2 tiers like in Poland upon decentralization. I know that district level and regional levels are on the plans, but we will not discuss this. Thank you, Serhiy, for this interesting conversation. We talked to Serhiy Poperechny, head of the Terebovlya consolidated community. Thank you.